The general topic today is on maximizing our effectiveness in the middle and high school settings. And we have a number of speakers who will be introducing individually. I want to express our great appreciation to all of our presenters. And I would like to ask the presenters, I know this will be challenging, but to stick as much as possible to their allotted time frame so that everyone will get a chance to speak. We'll be doing sort of informal timekeeping here, and we will let you know when you're a few minutes away from your time limit. So, without further ado, I'm going to repeat that those of you who've joined the call since I started, if you could mute your lines. And I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Elizabeth Mastro, Beth Mastro, who will be discussing her views on this issue from a statewide perspective. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Beth, or Miss Mastro. Beth, is it okay if I call you Beth? Okay.
Fine.
She's the director of the New York State Center for School Safety, and in this role she directs statewide technical assistance efforts for schools related to school safety, emergency response, and violence prevention programming, as well as adolescent sexual health and implementation of evidence-based programs. Beth is a member of the New York State Safe Schools Task Force. She has a master's degree in public health education and a bachelor's degree in social work. And she is also a certified health education specialist. So, without further ado, we'll have Beth open our session, and then we will introduce our second speaker. So, Beth, I will turn the microphone in a figurative way over to you.
Okay.
We're going to mute ourselves.
All right. Thanks for having me, and good morning, everybody. I will take the state perspective from the idea that I know New York City will be next, so I'm looking at work schools kind of from the upstate perspective. New York City is able to look at things a little bit differently. New York State, in working with schools, operates from a state-guided, locally decided perspective.
Hello?
And that.
Hello?
Hi. So,
Yes? Okay, we're going to ask everyone who's on the call to mute your phones if you didn't join right at the beginning. We're going to take attendance at the end of the call, and we've just started with Beth Mastro, our first speaker. Okay, go ahead, Beth.
Okay, so just one of the, in some of the things that Elizabeth had mentioned to think about in looking at effective strategy when offering to schools, the first thing that I know people who have been effective are really in know kind of about what's happening in schools with the new reform agenda, with Common Core standards, using the language of schools, and linking your curriculum and sort of your pitch to that language. All schools are operating under the large mantra of college and career readiness. So how does what you bring to schools help young people get ready for college or get ready for their careers, which is usually by helping them stay in schools and graduate because of the health messaging that comes through work. The other piece is to approach the schools with as local data as you can get, and the idea being that you are going to sort of, kind of Jerry Maguire, help me help you, because this is the data from your community, and your program can bring this curriculum in to deal with issues that you're finding specifically local to the community. And again, linking back to the educational piece, because schools just will say, no matter what, we don't have time. Dealing with Common Core standards, dealing with APR, which is the teacher evaluation system. We're dealing with assessments. So how can you use their language to show them how you can help them meet the objectives of these reforms? one other concrete strategy is also to talk to them, know their calendar, so that you are not trying to reach them during the time when they're involved in the assessments. Another effective strategy has been to go to board meetings, know what the district is faced with, and then you can come in and not appear as another conflicting thing that the district needs to deal with. Another place to get foot in the door is to offer to provide training to the staff during superintendent's conference day. That's also a piece of the calendar. A lot of times districts are scheduling all kinds of training related to English and math, and they may feel, suddenly they're aware of the fact that they don't have anything really for health teachers, or they may not have done the social work strand. And you can sometimes come in that way and show what you bring, and that can get your curriculum in the door. Looking at criteria to determine which schools to approach, really it's knowing the community and your warm market. As I said before, do you have a district that you know has a really high absentee dropout rate? Do you have a school, or DOH is great for having real-time data, which is not true across other agencies, so you can look at some of the data that might show some of the concern. What does emergency room data show? Those kinds of things. When you finally do select your school, the best person to go to varies. Again, that sort of being able to make the connection with that district. Ultimately, the building principal upstate with districts, the building principal is the one who will say yay or nay, but the buck stops at the superintendent. So again, that's a piece where you may want to play the long game and attend some board meetings, know what's going on at the district level, but the principal will be the one who will make the local decision in the building. Now, there are several people who can help you lobby with the principal, and that would be the school social worker, then the guidance counselor, and another person who can be very helpful is the school nurse. School nurses are often the ones who may see what's happening with students that the other folks in the building don't necessarily hear about. So think about those folks. The other place to go is if your school district has a health advisory committee. For a while, when schools did receive Safe and Free Schools, they had to review that curriculum. There's also a requirement for the district to annually review their HIV curriculum. Districts combine those two requirements of a committee to review the curriculum to the Health Advisory Committee. And in some places, people have been able to make a presentation to that committee to get a curriculum into the district. The health teacher is also another one, but I'm sure, and I saw your needs assessment, and I understand and know from experience with other initiatives that the teacher may not feel they have time to give up. And so working with them, if there's a health teacher that will go with you to the principal, or you feel like you have a relationship with that health teacher to get into the school. Again, the idea, the most successful approach that I've heard working with other programs on getting into schools is not, we want to bring your curriculum in, but we know this is what you're struggling with. Here's how what we offer can help. To sort of reframe the pitch, if you will, there. One of the questions that was suggested was, should there be a choice of curricula? And I would suggest no, because that's another task that schools would perceive as that you're giving them. At most, I would provide them with a comparison of two that you've already looked at might benefit that local community or that local as the school building. So I would not give them the whole realm of curricula to decide from, but give them maybe two or three that you've already compared and show why, you don't have to review them. We've done this. Take a look at, we think these three might be a benefit for you. This one has this component, whereas this one doesn't, which you may prefer. I'm not sure. I know that I saw the curricula that many of you are working with. I don't know if you have any flexibility with adaptation of the curriculum, because how best to deal with the issue of the length of a curriculum is a huge barrier for anybody working with schools or trying to get into classroom time to implement, knowing that longer is probably less likely to get in. But if you can look at perhaps how flexible you can be, and are you looking at length of time of the duration of a session, or are you looking at a curriculum that's 16 sessions, 1 hour? Is there any way to, when you know a class period, maybe 38 minutes, there's transition, there's getting settled, so you actually may be dealing with 32 minutes to 28 minutes. So how much flexibility do you have in adapting that? And then also, have you considered alternative settings, such as schools that have after-school programs, or working with alternative schools, because sometimes they are more amenable to other curriculum because those students have other needs that alternative education is meeting, and they may be a place where you could be more well-received, if you will. Again, the issues or school curricula provided that might be in competition with you, I'd say really the school initiatives, as you know, this is nothing you don't know, but Common Core standards and the school pieces are huge, and right now, especially last year and this year, are probably, I would say, in my experience with schools, the two toughest years to really get school time because of the reform agenda. Some other competing organizations, I see some of you on the list are also funded to provide the CAP program, the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention, and that actually may be competitive as well, because those folks are also trying to implement evidence-based adolescent sexual health programs in the schools as well. There is not a mandate for sexual violence prevention component, but in the health education standards, which again, I would suggest you go back, and many of you are familiar with them because I know some of you from other work, but to link this work to the health education standards and the state document that is called a guidance document for achieving the standards, that is based on 7 health skills, and those are really key in terms of your work and linking your curriculum to relationship management, self-management, and communication. I'd say those were probably the 3 skills. So I don't want to sound all gloom and doom, because there are places in which you can demonstrate that the work does meet some of the requirements, even if it's not an explicit mandate for that content area. And when you're looking at that to be more than just an instructional component and infused within the school environment, there are several other policy pieces that might be able to look at working under. If you have heard of the SAVE law, that's the Safe Schools Against Violence in Education. That has a component in which schools have to provide interpersonal violence prevention programming to young people, and that's a place where, again, it's not an explicit mandate through instruction, but it's a policy requirement that in their safety plans they have to say how they provide that kind of training for students. Also, if any of you are familiar with, State Ed has developed the Social Emotional Development and Learning Guidelines. That's a compendium of resources that looks at health education, skills-based learning, social emotional education, and provides a compendium of resources there. The most recent piece where you may be able to work with schools through, again, using the language of what they're concerned with right now is the Dignity for All Students Act. And each building has to have a Dignity Act coordinator. The Dignity Act was established to provide an environment free of harassment and discrimination. And so that Dignity Act coordinator coordinator may also be another person that you might be able to work with to bring your program in. Encouraging school personnel to become active members of the coalition. I'm sure you've heard them that it's very difficult to get time away from the building, but by suggestion, just include them in everything and invite them in everything. Once you have a contact, just make sure they're added to your listserv, that know about events that you're having that they would come to after school. Also, again, I go back to the school calendar and a contact there where, like, we're working with one district right now that the day before Thanksgiving is a wellness day, and the day is given over completely from instruction to all different aspects of wellness, and you could be part of that to at least get make folks more aware of what you have to offer. And then engaging parents at this level, you're certainly in a large group with that, because the schools, especially middle and high schools that you're targeting, are really struggling with that. As we know, parents are always there and they always appear for the babies, but once kids get older, that participation tends to drop off. So, attend a PTA meeting, find out what's happening there. Again, you're getting your name and program and your face in front of different aspects of the school before you're actually trying to really lobby for school time. And again, hopefully some of this is new. I know that many of you have tried some of these, but these are some of the things that I know from different programs that actually work. And a couple of resources that I will pass on to Elizabeth for you are the Engage New York website at State Ed. Just to, if not familiar, just to get a feel for it. It's very dense, and I do not see the need for you to go into all of the instructional videos, but to get an idea of what schools are dealing with in terms of the Common Core standards implementation, in terms of assessment. There is also a part of the site dedicated to parents and families that might be helpful for you as you link to parents. And then the guidance document for achieving the health ed standards and the skills would be a helpful piece for you when you look at your curriculum. How does it line up with that? Can you show assessment strategies there that might make sense to a teacher who's trying to show growth in his or her classroom? You've done that front work for them. And then another part of the work that we do at the New York State Center, we're a partner with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Cornell University, and the Division of Rochester Adolescent Medicine to form the Act for Youth Center of Excellence, and their website, actforyouth.net, has a wealth of resources, again, going back to needs assessment, just some links to youth development, working schools, adolescent development, and community collaboration, some things that I saw noted particularly in the needs, the needs assessment that Elizabeth sent. So I hope that is helpful to you, and I know that my time is up.
Well, thank you very much for packing so much information into your allotted time. I really appreciate it, Beth. We're so lucky that you could join us.
Oh, well, thank you. My pleasure.
So you are going to have a chance to ask Beth questions after we hear from our next speaker, who is Marian Thomas, and I am going to ask Mary Haviland from the New York City Alliance Against Sexual Assault to introduce him.
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Mary. Marian, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. Hi, Marian. So I'm going to introduce Marian. Marian has a long history with New York State Department of Education, and I'm so glad that he's able to speak this morning. Thank you, Marian.
My pleasure.
He serves currently as the Senior Program Manager for Prevention and Intervention Services in the Office of Safety and Youth Development for the New York State Department of Ed. In this position, he coordinates the services of 200 substance abuse prevention and intervention specialists, which are called SAPIS, who provide substance abuse and violence prevention programs in over 300 schools and campuses. He's been with the Department of Ed for 27 years and served as a teacher, a counselor, a staff developer, and program director. I know Marion, the New York City Network on Healthy Teen Relationships. That's how we met. That's the group that's working on teen issues and violence and bullying. Marion is also the DFE liaison for coordinating placements for the Relationship Abuse Prevention Program, so people in the city will know that as RAP. He's responsible for coordinating placements for that program in DOE. So Marion, welcome, and thank you very much for talking to us this morning.
I'm very glad to be with you. Thank you, Mary. Well, I just wanted to first follow what our previous speaker said in terms of the overall emphasis on all of our schools, because we have 1,700 schools, so it's quite a challenge providing services and support services in all those schools. But to start with, our version of the Dignity Act, which we've had in place for 5 years now, is Respect for All. Respect for All program. That's in all of our schools, and as the Dignity Act requires a Dignity Act coordinator in every school, we require a Respect for All coordinator in every school. And we provide posters, we provide brochures that address it, we provide lesson plans that are done by counselors or deans or even the teachers themselves, and it follows exactly the specifications of the Dignity Act. It tries to put in programs that reduce harassment, discrimination, bullying, and addressing all of these issues, and just creating a school culture where these things are not ignored, where everyone is a part of creating that culture where these things don't go by, and not only for the staff, but also that students become allies or upstanders, is the common term used in bullying prevention these days, but where everyone is a part of making sure that everyone is safe, that no acts of harassment or discrimination or bullying are ignored or just said, well, that's just kids being kids. So that's what we have in every school, but let me speak first of all to the specifics of the dating violence and sexual violence programs that we have in schools. I coordinate the SAPIS services, so we have prevention counselors that are assigned to about 300 schools, and part of their work plan is actually to do sexual violence prevention and dating violence prevention. So the luxury that we have as a result is that they're already part of the school staff. So in these cases, one of the curriculums that we use is Safe Date. And so they're used to our staff doing curriculums. Again, as has been said, it's a challenge getting into classrooms. But we do prevention curriculums like life skills, Do Good for Drugs, and Safe Date is just another one of the curriculums that we use is when we go into the classroom. Now, the challenge being with all of the Common Core issues that are being instituted, our challenge is also going into classrooms, but we found ways around it. And some of the strategies that we found, besides going into the classroom, we also do Safe Dates and other violence prevention curriculums through small groups. We do this during lunch periods or library periods, and we have kids come in that they do the curriculum, and we do it once a week. We also do it during advisory. A lot of high schools have advisory periods, one period a week. And you could come in, you could connect with these schools and come in and do the sessions that you want to do during the advisory periods, because they have a curriculum that they follow that deal with college and career readiness, social skills, studying skills, all of these things, graduation requirements, Common Core, but they're always looking for some of the social emotional components to add to it. So a lot of the times our counselors, even in the schools that they're assigned, are able to become part of these advisory programs. Most of the times the teachers do it, but there are also times that guidance counselors go into the classrooms and do what we call guidance lessons that are very similar to advisory, and you may be able to connect with them to be a part of these regular times that they go into the classroom and provide that curriculum. Because when you're doing advisory for a whole year, there's slots that you can go in to really provide those, and I'm sure teacher staff would welcome it. I work at the main office, so a lot of community-based organizations will reach out to me, and I'm glad to help place them. And a lot of the schools were able to, CBOs were able to place to do these dating violence and sexual violence prevention programs. But in terms of what our SAPIS do, first, the SAPIS do the safe dates. In over 100, 150 schools, we do the safe dates. One thing we're able to do, like I say, we go into a classroom once a week, but we don't use the 9 session, we use the 6 session. So that's one of the curriculums that we use. And I've gotten good feedback from the safe dates. I've heard, staff enjoy it, the students enjoy it. We try to limit like I say, the 6 sessions about the most you're going to get, but we use other curriculums as well. We have a shifting boundaries curriculum that we did as part of a pilot with the National Institute of Justice and Wellesley College. It was written by Nan Stein, and this is a curriculum for 6th and 7th grade students. So the 6th grade we start with 4 lessons, then there's curriculum for the 7th grade for 6 lessons, and then we start safe dates in 8th grade. So we're really working on creating where it's not just a one-shot or one grade, but the students are actually learning about boundaries and respect in 6th and 7th grade, and then introducing the idea of the dating violence perspective and relationships going into 8th grade and 9th grade. So we try to make it a progressional thing where it's not just you hear it one grade and then you won't hear it until you're a senior, but try to create some consistency in terms of hearing this message in the schools that we're in. So that's where we have SAPIS counselors. That's about 250 schools. Then I also help to place the relationship abuse prevention counselors. We have 3 community-based organizations, Center Against Domestic Violence, Steps to End Family Violence, and a group called CAMBA that provides social workers that we place in over 60 schools. And these social workers, their whole work plan is to do relationship abuse prevention. Now, I can tell you, for the most part, and since I have to reach out to the principals to place these, sometimes it's a challenge because in placing them, the issue of space for these workers to operate in the building. So if you're just visiting the school, you're not going to have that challenge. But for the most part, schools are very happy to receive the extra services. And the relationship abuse counselors do a 3-session curriculum. So they really minimize in terms of how many times in the classroom. But the plus that they bring to that school, besides the classes, is they're able to do the individual counseling. They're able to do workshops for staff and for parents. So one of the questions has to do with how are parents involved, and our SAPIS do this as well. We do workshops for parents, and we bring the dating violence issues into that, and relationships and boundaries. So those opportunities, and just about every school is going to have a parent association meeting. I encourage you to really reach out to parent association officers and become a part of those. And in our system, every month there's a workshop that's done as part of the parent association meeting. So if you can reach out to those individuals and schedule workshops for parents, it's a great opportunity to really make them aware, especially going in from middle school to high school, and they see it themselves in the lives of their children. So that's a very good opportunity to really reach out and make that connection with parents and let them see the importance of this curriculum. Because we've had many parents reach out to us whose children were victims of dating violence, and they were the greatest advocates for putting these things in the school and using those parents to advocate with other parents in terms of getting your foot in the door, and that this is an important topic that needs to be covered with our young people. That's a great strategy to use as well. The Relationship Abuse Prevention Program, as well as our SAPIS, do school-wide projects that address dating violence. One of our big projects or events with Respect for All, we have a Respect for All week during the month of February, where every school does a special event that highlights being respectful, be it sexual orientation, be it discrimination, being bullying. Bullying is one of the big things, but for many schools, they highlight the dating violence. Our relationship abuse prevention social workers creating these school-wide projects during Respect for All week. So even if you don't get in the classroom, if you know as part of the Dignity Act, I'm sure there'll be certain highlights that the school will do during the calendar year to highlight the importance of the Dignity Act and following these and creating a safe school environment. You could go into the school and be the person who puts together and helps to develop that school-wide project for that event to really get the message out. Then once you did that, and the schools will welcome that because they're looking for help to really do this. And they want to do this, but they need our help to really put together really serious projects and engaging projects for their kids that they can really do, be it an assembly program, be it an art exhibit, be it going into classrooms and just doing increasing awareness, be it training students to be peer educators to really, because this is what RAP does, the Relationship Abuse Prevention, as well as our therapists, we really train students to take the lead on a lot of these topics because they're more effective many times in engaging their fellow students in this. So however you can do that, these are strategies that before you even get in the classroom, if you can reach out and try to create a school-wide project that you could come in and do with that school, that might help you to then, going forward, do other classroom events and things in that classroom. So these are just the curriculums, the strategies that we use in terms of getting into school. And as I said, with 1,700 schools, that's just, like I've mentioned, SAP is 300 schools, RAP coordinators, 60 schools. So apart from that, reaching the key person to reach out to is always the principal for our system as well. And once you reach out to the principal, reaching out to the Parents Association, reaching out to the guidance counselor, reaching out to the health teacher, and our health teachers do use human sexuality classes, and I've gotten the information that there is a dating violence lesson that's part of those health classes. So between our SAPMIS counselors, our relationship abuse counselors, and we have great community-based organizations that come in and help us provide the services, including Safe Horizon, Day One, the Alliance Against Sexual Assault that Mary heads up. They've been very helpful with us, and especially helpful with us on training staff. That's one thing. Another area to really reach out to, and an important strategy, is to reach out on those professional development days to train school staff, especially guidance staff, but also teaching staff. We've done many trainings with the Alliance and with Safe Horizon and with Day One that have helped us train school staff around bullying, sexual violence, cyberbullying, which is a really big part of life now, especially control and abuse is related to use of cell phones and controlling relationships. So cyberbullying is also a big topic, and we present that to school staff so that they can be more aware of how abuse plays out in society today, especially with social media so much a part, and not only a part of bullying issues, but also sexual dating violence issues as well. So that's another area that I would really recommend that you reach out to, because that's one way when we don't have enough staff to go in every school. We're glad that we're able to go in the ones we do, but the professional development and the training of these other school staff is really our entryway to really make sure something is happening in that school to address sexual violence and dating violence. So that's another area that I know can really work, and reaching out and providing that training and that professional development, because every school really wants to receive the information, and they all have opportunities during the year where training is provided. So that's another important strategy that I would really recommend very strongly. That's basically. When we go to the questions, I'll be glad to take those. But that's the most important strategies that I would recommend. Apart from, the challenges of going into the classroom. The most important thing is to look beyond the classroom in terms of advisory, other sessions that may be available, working with guidance counselors, working with health classes. A lot of the curriculum that we do around dating violence is done in the health class. So we can assist the health teachers in, since this is something that they're required to do as well. So there are entryways there, but apart from the classroom, sometimes the first step in getting into the classroom is going to be reaching out to those parent associations, doing workshops for those parents, and reaching out to that principal or that guidance staff or that administrator and providing professional development to their staff. Many times those two strategies will ensure that further up the road, you're really able to get in there and build those relationships and get into the classes, because the key is the relationships that you build, and these opportunities give you a chance to really build those relationships and provide the support that those schools needed. Because even providing the PD, you'll then be able to get the referrals from that school. They'll be calling and asking for your help when certain things come up. If the guidance department is aware of you, and the social workers, and they know what the services are that your agency provides. That's the other big major connection we make. We want our community-based organizations to come and be a part of our meetings with guidance staff. So the school is able to visit the place that provides the service. We have a lot of staff meetings that we have not only in the school, but we ask the agency who wants to provide the service sometimes to host. If you could invite guidance departments to come to your agency, to sit down, to talk to them about the services that are offered, that's another important connection to make. And I'm sure everyone does that, but it's just good even to revisit, because staffs change and positions change, and people need to reconnect with each other so that we're really familiar in that relationship. So just building a strong relationship with the individual school really goes a long way in opening doors for our services to be able to go in. So that's basically what I wanted to share, and it's just important work that it's just worth our time to be into. We wish we had counselors in every school to do dating violence, but really the Respect for All and the Dignity Act is giving us a huge opportunity. This is on every school's radar. They want to know how I've got to be in compliance. What do I have to do? The Dignity Act is going to give us a major entryway to really providing these services, because I know that's done this. Our Respect for All in our system, which again is 5 years old, that has done that for us. Schools that previously might have said, no, I don't have time for that, they don't say that anymore, because Respect for All is one of our chancellor's initiatives. So it's not an optional thing that you can take this or leave it. And that is giving us a way to say, here's how we can help you meet the requirements. Everyone wants to know with Common Core, what do I have to do to meet the requirement? They'll be asking the same thing for the Dignity Act, which will give us an entryway to really provide the services that the students need. So take advantage of these opportunities, look for the opportunities as they come, and just be a resource for those schools when they really need the help in meeting these requirements. So I encourage you to reach out and let our schools know what you have to offer, and again, be a part of the services that are going to be opening up as a result of the Dignity Act. So it's good to be able to talk to everyone today, and I hope this has been helpful.
Marion, thank you so much. You did say that one of your roles is to play, well, you do play RAP coordinators, and you're obviously in charge of the SAPIS workers. Is it okay if I give your phone number out to people so that if they are trying to get into a school, they could seek your advice about that?
I would be very happy to speak to them. Yes, you can.
Okay. So Marion's direct line number, I hope this doesn't result in 7 phone calls, but we'll see, is 212-374-2491. And his email is mthomas, MTHOMAS, and then number 2 at schools.nyc.gov.
That's correct.
Okay. Elizabeth, want to manage the questions?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I want to thank Marion as well as Beth. Marion, I don't think you took a breath. I really appreciate you kept our hands going, taking notes, and you packed a lot of information into 20 minutes. And
well, I just hope it was helpful. Yes.
We're so appreciative. So I'd like to open the lines for questions. Trying to think of a organized way to do this. I think I'll go kind of regionally. And because Marion's from New York City, why don't we start with New York City, and I'm going to move up and across the state. So are there any programs in the New York City, Long Island, Westchester kind of area that have any questions? Could you please unmute and ask your question of either Beth or Marion or both? Do we have a question?
Marion, I have a question about respect for all.
Yes.
What kind of lessons are contained in respect for all around sexual violence and dating violence? How much?
Well, specifically.
Yep.
Okay, specifically, and we have two curriculums. There's one curriculum for the K to 5. There's a different curriculum for 6 to 12. None of the lessons specifically address dating violence. All of them really have to do with bullying and empowering students to move from bystanders to allies or upstanders. So no matter what the behavior, whether it's bullying, discrimination, harassment, it's encouraging students to report it, to talk about it, to come to the aid of their fellow students. But look how much that's directly online with dating violence. So it's very easy for the instructor to make that part of it. Because a couple of years ago, we expanded our discipline code where we used to just have bullying and discrimination. We added the language that goes with dating violence to our discipline code. So the lessons are designed to be expansive. So you can take the basic lessons regarding bullying and the same issues that are coming up expanded in terms of dating violence. And I'm sure when these lessons are taught, the kids bring those issues up. When they're presented with this kind of information, how can you reach out? How can you help a friend? What do you do if you see something happening with a friend of yours? I'm sure even when they're talking about bullying and harassment, that dating violence also comes up in those discussions. So it's expansive enough with the issues to really make that a part of it.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning. I'm sorry. I had a question, and I didn't want to wait because I was afraid I was going to lose it. And maybe I misunderstood what Miriam was saying, but do you have policies that have been developed that include the teen dating violence, the sexual assault language? Because I'm from Oswego County, and we're working on a federal OBW project.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to do create policies within 3 school districts in our county. And so if folks already have something like that, I'm wondering if you could send that language to us.
Sure, I'd be glad to. What we recently did, and it was just a couple of years ago, we added dating violence language. All the things that used to be assault, violence, and there was, you had the list of things that were part of it. We added dating violence language to that. So I can send that to you so you can take a look at it.
This is Elizabeth. We will ask Beth and Marion to send the information to myself and Mary Havlett, and then we will send it out to everyone. I had a question, Marion. New York is putting so much emphasis, which is awesome, on bullying prevention, violence prevention. Are these efforts being evaluated in any way?
Evaluated. Well,
I was just curious whether there's an evaluation component.
The evaluation component from our office comes because Respect for All really was authored and created as part of the office that I work in. So we do school visits. We call them assessments. And when we do school visits, part of what we look at is school culture and climate. So we make sure that all of the elements of Respect for All are functioning in that school. We talk to the Respect for All liaison or coordinator. We talk to students in the school to be sure they're aware given principals a lot of power in our system now, but not power not to do these things. This is a chancellor's regulation, and so when we visit schools and we visit them regularly, these are things that we look for. Every school is required to have 2 staff members trained in respect for all. So they have to send people to a central training, which our community organizations do a great job of training our people in terms of bullying prevention and other things around this, full-day trainings that they then are able to really do these lessons in the school. They're able to give trainings to other staff so everyone's aware of it. So that's been the key thing, is providing that training to them to really help them to know, here's how you can really have a school that really addresses these issues. Because all schools welcome it, because everyone wants a strong, safe environment, and they want their students to feel safe when they come into that building. So that's something that everyone wants. We don't get any fight with that.
Okay, great. I'm going to move up to state for questions. If we have programs that are in the mid-Hudson Valley up through the Capital District. Does anyone have any questions for Beth or for Marion? And could you identify yourself if you do have a question? Okay. So let's move into the Finger Lakes region, Central New York. Any questions from folks in that area? Okay. How about Northern New York? Any questions from programs in Northern New York? Okay, and I'm going to go lastly into Western New York, and I hope I didn't leave out any regions. Western New York, or any regions I left out. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Can I actually ask a question?
Okay, who are you and what program are you from?
Oh, sorry. My name's Susie. I'm from the New York City Anti-Violence Project. I missed the region point there. I just wanted to ask about how LGBT issues are being addressed within the bullying issues and dating violence, if at all.
They're addressed because one of our main trainers for all of our staff is GLSEN. You're familiar with GLSEN? They help develop the training, the 2-day training, along with Morningside Center for Social Responsibility. So they've been one of our main partners in developing these trainings. So LGBT training is part of that 2 days that all staff members receive, that they're aware of those types of bullying issues as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
I just want to give Beth, I know a lot of these questions have been New York City oriented. Beth, have they raised any issues that you would like to comment on in terms of more of a statewide perspective?
No, I mean, I think that I think New York City really has a great grasp and a system-wide training approach that is really admirable and upstate, because each district is different and individualized. There are a lot of different things happening. Some things happening, some things not happening. There are districts, just in reference to the question you just asked, some districts have really focused on the LGBTQ issues. Other districts, they're working on getting comfortable with incorporating that into some of their Dignity Act trainings. So it does vary by district.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Are there any, let me just ask one more time for questions before we move on to our next presenters. Are there any other questions or comments? Now, we will be sending out, Beth, are you okay with us sending out your contact information
Sure.
So do you mind giving it now, and then we'll include it in our note?
I'd be happy to. It's my email, emastro, MASTRO, at Ulster, ULSTER, BOCES, ulsterboces.org. So it's emastro@ulsterboces.org. My phone number is 845-255-8989.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions before we move on? Okay, I'm sure folks might have individual questions, and I really appreciate Beth and Marion that you're willing to help our programs individually. So with that, the next part of our program, and it would be great if Beth and Marion can stay on the call to hear what some of our programs are doing. We asked representatives of 3 of our programs, the Bronx District Attorney's Office, Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes, and the Warren County Sexual Assault Support Services, to talk about the successful inroads that they've made with schools in their area, and to talk briefly about their efforts. Each program will talk for approximately 10 minutes, and then again we'll open it up for questions and answers. But to introduce the folks from the Bronx District Attorney's Office, I'm going to turn it over to Sashodi from the New York City Alliance.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And good morning, everyone. This is Shashati, and it's really my pleasure to introduce our next 2 speakers, Beth Ann Jose and Christopher Collins from Bronx DA's office here in New York City. Beth Ann has been with the Bronx District Attorney's Office since 1986, and she became the unit's director in 1991. And under her leadership, the unit has grown from an 8-person unit to a 20-person unit, and she's also expanded its services to include an on-site therapy program, a multidisciplinary team on child sexual and physical abuse, an elder abuse task force, a homicide survivor support project. They have a satellite office in Northeast Bronx, and also have a primary prevention program that utilizes Girl Circle and Counsel for Young Boys and Men. We also have Christopher Cullen here with us today, and Christopher is the clinical supervisor for the Crime Victims Assistance Unit at the Bronx District Attorney's Office, and he also has been with them since 2002. Christopher's career in the profession expands over 30 years, and he's been practicing as a direct care clinical social worker and psychotherapist in various different settings, including foster care, mental health, psychiatric. He's also worked in substance abuse and crime victims intervention and prevention settings. Christopher and Beth Ann, along with other staff member from the Bronx DA's office, has been working on their primary prevention project that's actually facilitated in the middle school in Bronx for the last 5 years. And we're so happy to have both of them here with us today, sharing their experiences of working with the schools, and they would be talking about how did they build and maintain some of that relationship with the schools, and how are they planning on engaging the parents. So welcome, Beth Ann and Christopher. Yes, we can. Thank you. Yes, we can. Thank you, Christopher, and welcome.
Something that Marion and Beth have said in regards to who to approach. In both experiences, we've been in our current school that our primary prevention, as the Swati has said, the last 5 years, utilizing the Girl Circle and the Counsel for Boys and Young Men. But prior to doing that school, we were in another school, and was trying to get the program off in this other school. And I want to highlight this because I think this might be helpful in terms of what worked in the other school, what didn't work in the other school, what led us to go to the conference. But in both of these schools, the people that we contacted was the principal. And we learned about these schools. I went to other colleagues in the field. We have a community affairs director here in our office. We work with peer mediation programs. I went to those folks and said, tell me who you think are principals that are interested in primary prevention, are interested in prevention of sexual assault, dating violence, and they led us to who they thought were principals that might be interested. The other person that I think is critical when approaching schools, and this was in both of these schools, is, and this is in New York City. I don't know if they have these folks up in upstate, but there are parent coordinators in New York City schools. I'm not sure if they exist in the high schools, but they do exist in the middle schools. And the parent coordinators work very closely with principals. And so those are the two crucial people for our programs that worked really, really well, was to meet with the principals and the parent coordinators. And although the first school that we worked with, and we were in that school for approximately about 2 years trying to get the program off ground, although the interest was there and they wanted to do this, this was a school that was so overwhelmed with so many other issues that it became clear to us that they were not going to be able to do what we wanted to do. That was a school that we thought that we could do more stuff with on an after-school-based program rather than during school sessions. And so that's really what led us to leave that school and go to the school that we've currently been in for 5 years. And we first, as I said, we first met with the principal and the parent coordinator. And that meeting was just an introduction in regards to the program that we wanted to do. And this goes to the question that was asked, that Beth responded to. We didn't give them a menu of curricula that we could use. We came in with knowing that this was the curriculum that we wanted to use, the Girl Circle and Council. And the reason why we liked that particular program was because it is not a one-shot deal, and it's not a 5-shot deal. We were going to be working with the same group of students from September all the way up to the end of the school year. That was our vision, was to be able to work with a class and work with that same class throughout the year, because we felt like the only way we were really going to make changes with students was to be able to develop a rapport with these students, and that was really what was going to get us to make changes for them. What gets them to think about things, get them to really participate in the program, is if we became involved with them. So we first met with the principal and the coordinator. They told us in regards to what they needed in terms of making sure that there was personnel from the school that would be present. I think one of the other things that really helped us, and this may just be a pointer for my colleagues down in New York City, this was a school that had an annex built, and so they called it the Academy of Excellence. And I believe, although this was never said, I believe that the principal of that school really wanted to do something, because it felt like the Academy of Excellence was always an afterthought, at the annex, because they weren't a part of the main building. So I think we kind of took advantage of that and said, okay, this is a program that is a special program that we can offer. And so she ran with that for the Academy of Excellence. So that's just something that folks may want to look at in the New York City area. And there are many schools in New York City, middle schools, that have annexes that are not part of the main building because of the population. So that's just something that I think that can be helpful. So we met with the principal, and we told her what we could provide. We explained the whole concept of what primary prevention is in regards to sexual violence, that it would not just be us coming in and talking about, sexual violence after the fact. It would be us talking about what it means for a young girl to have an authentic voice, what it means about self-esteem. Bullying can be a concept of that, and that's one of the things that I really like about the Girl Circle Boys Council curricula, is it's something that is adaptable. We don't have to go in. It's not something that we can't change. And every year, we change our program depending upon where these 8th graders are at. We also shape the program to be kind of like a prepare your 8th grade daughter, son, for high school. That this is really when, and the 8th grade is really when they start developing ideas, relationships, and they're thinking about dating. And so this is really where we want to start talking with them about what issues they're going to confront when they're in high school. So we kind of shaped it that way as well. I want to give Chris an opportunity to say stuff that I haven't been able to say. So, Chris, why don't you pick up?
Well, the other thing I like about the council and the circle model is, as was mentioned by presenters, is that it's not strictly an issue or a practice of us and addressing directly, topically, dating violence or relational violence. It's a little more subtle than that. What it does is that one of the things, for example, that it addresses in its curriculum is for the boys, perhaps, well, actually for the boys and the girls, but I'll speak for the boys just for the moment. We do exercises that basically encourage late discussion and reflection, exercises that have to do with different topics like discrimination. It discusses topics that have to do with dating, with relationship, overall relationship with one's family, and all of this through the lens of having a second thought or having another look at issues that are connected with the risk factor of stereotypical masculinity, or what the boys have been taught, or the message that's been communicated to them about what it means to be a boy becoming a man, and just not preaching to them about it, but getting some discussion going about that, because we think that basically the model promotes itself to be in practice and in theory that if we promote a healthy sense of masculinity, if we promote a healthy sense of what it means to be a girl en route to being an adult, that becomes a protective factor against more stereotypical views of what it means to be a girl, what it means to be a boy, because those types tend to lend themselves to a misconception of what empowerment is, or bluntly, addressing issues that have to do with power control, that are connected with more stereotypical views of what it means to be a girl, what it means to be a boy. And it's a place in each case. The boys also separately during the course of a class or let's just say meeting, and they're encouraged to talk about and reflect on for the boys related issues in a way that try to encourage doing that in the least, or at least the least judgmental free atmosphere. And again, there are different activities that we do during each meeting that give cause for us to reflect and reflect on different things and so forth.
Okay. I actually feel quite blessed, because I feel like we are very lucky to have this particular school is very committed. We're in there one day a week, and they give us 2 periods to come in and work with their students. I think that, again, this particular school, there are a lot of the students that have IEP, individualized education programs. And when we look at a lot of kids today who have IEPs, a lot of it is not just coming from, it's my personal belief, that it's not just coming from organic disabilities, but it really comes from a history of trauma. And so I think that is what this school has seen, and why they buy into our program. I think another thing that we've learned throughout the years of each year that we do this program gets better and better. So the first year that we were in there, we were pretty much focused on making the program work for the students. What can we do to engage these students into this? And then as years went on, we started to look at the school as a community, and who do we need to get involved in this and have a buy-in to this. And one of the things that I also will say is that you have to be very adaptable. For instance, because we're in the academy and because it's a program that is done separately, Chris and the teacher of the class that we're in stay in the classroom. Myself and my other facilitator, we go into the cafeteria, which is a very large room. So we have to worry about the cafeteria being cleaned when we get in there. And there have been times that Tanya and myself have had to sweep the floor. And so other people might say, well, I'm not going to do that. But we were invested enough interest in this that we wanted to really make a commitment to this. Then we have to think out of the box and think, well, how can we make it a more intimate setting for these girls? How can we create that environment? You know, in a classroom, we have chairs. We have benches, tables with benches on it. Not conducive. I went out and I bought, cushions for the chairs and created a circle and put a tablecloth in the middle. So we had to think outside. How can I make this environment fit what we're trying to do? So I just want to say that sometimes when you want to do something, the environment is not right, but you have to create that environment. Being in the cafeteria was hard because we would get a lot of interruptions. That's what led us to go beyond the students and just the group that we were working with and said, you know what? They don't realize, the school doesn't realize what we're trying to do, what we're trying to create. And they say that they want us here, but them interrupting is not giving us the space that we need. It's not really with the goal of this. So that's what led us to say, you know what, we really need to meet with the entire school staff. And so before the program started, they all have their morning meetings. The principal of the school conducts a morning meeting. We went very early in the morning and we present at their morning meeting. We've tried to do that with parents, and this is the last that we haven't been so successful with. We tried to utilize, when you talk about using the school calendar, we tried to use the back-to-school night as a way of getting the parents. These are 8th grade parents, so a lot of them tend to come to back-to-school night when their child is in the 6th grade and when in the 7th grade. By the 8th grade, they're not coming to back-to-school night a lot. So right now, we're in the progress. This year, we tried to do something different. We tried to host a breakfast for the parents to get them to understand what we're trying to do with their child. Unfortunately, that was not successful. So next year, we went back to the drawing board and we spoke to the school staff about what are parents coming to. And because the class that we work with, our 8th graders, they are a lot of that year concentrating on high school. So next year when we do it, what we will do is when the parents are coming in to talk about selecting high schools, we will pick back off that and we will have a presence in the school in terms of explaining what we are trying to do. So again, even though we're not successful, every year we learn a different strategy about what we do different. How can we make this? And I think it's really important to look at the whole school as the target community, and who is a part of this community, and who do we need to get this message? Because although we're only there 2 hours a week, in 2 periods, right, these students are interacting with each other throughout the whole year. And so what can we do so that the whole school is supporting, even though we're not with every student in that school, what can we do so that the whole school understands what we're doing?
Great. Thank you both so much for giving us such a clear picture of the work that you're doing and the different ideas that you tried. Again, after our next speakers, we're going to have a second question and answer session. And we're going to move on to our next speaker, Rachel Gregory, and Mary Chris will introduce her. Sorry. We're just trying to maneuver our phone so you can hear Mary Chris.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit before I introduce Rachel. I'll tell you a little bit about her work and her background. Rachel Gregory from Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes holds a BSW. She first joined Safe Harbors in 2002 as a volunteer. She joined their staff in 2006 as their education counselor. Her current title is the Prevention Education Coordinator. This program serves Ontario, Seneca, and Yates counties and are in almost every school in those three counties. I can tell you from their quarterly reports that they report a barrier for them to keep up with this demand from school. I can tell you that quarterly they probably educate about 400 students. They also have requests for private talks from students after these sessions. On average, I think they have about 75 per quarter requests for these private talks that result in, on average, 4 law enforcement investigations and at least 1 CPS report. So I think that Rachel's doing a wonderful job to create a very safe environment for these students who can then talk about their experiences. So I'll turn it over now to Rachel Gregory.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Hello?
I hear you.
Rachel, I don't think we're hearing you if you're speaking.
Hello?
Okay, I can hear you now, but I think you're going to have to speak up.
Maybe if I use handset. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, first I want to say thank you for allowing me to share my experience as the Prevention Education Coordinator at Safe Harbors of the Fish Lake. Like Mary Chris said, we're a county program that works closely with most of the schools in our county area. We provide personal safety programs in all but 2 of the schools in our counties, and most of the schools allow us to come in and provide the K through 6 personal safety program. The personal safety program focuses on the OK Touch, Not OK Touch, that secret. This program has been running for many years, since probably about 1982, and continues to run smoothly in all of the schools. We work closely with administration to provide these groups for the school. There has been shifts in administration that have caused us to temporarily lose a school on occasion, but we've been able to then bring ourselves back around by remaining active in the community when other schools hear that, or when the school drops us and they hear that we're doing well in another school, often back up. The prevention program is Region's mandate for K through 6, and so we have used that to help us to maintain connections with schools. The teachers like we're doing these programs. It frees up the planning for them, and staff at the school sees a value in educating kids how to keep themselves safe. Then there's other schools that allow us to come in and do the Girl Circle and groups. These groups started with 1 school and 1 counselor, allowing us to do a trial run in 2007, and have now grown to 10-school program. This program served over 900 youth in the last couple years. People often ask me how I got into so many schools, and the first thing that I say, and I think this has been echoed by other speakers, is that you have to be active in the community. It's really important to maintain contacts, whether through an MDP meeting or PTA meeting or other meetings that you can attend where there's a connection between the school and community agencies. It's so important to maintain those connections. And so that would be the first thing that I suggest, is to make sure that you're active in those community meetings where there's people who are looking for ways to bring programs to students and make sure that we're meeting the students' needs with a holistic approach, not just through education. So people the first person that we were able to contact at school to our very first
and girls program started was actually the prevention specialist. It's the school that we have out here. They have a prevention specialist and also a social worker. The prevention specialist was somebody who was having a hard time meeting the demand of all the kids who could utilize prevention services. So we offered to come in and do a trial run with them that started as one in group to many groups. And so we had to kind of sell the program here as we can help you reach more students. If you are having a hard time getting all these kids in, you could do 2 groups, and you'd be able to see 10 kids with 2 groups as opposed to only being able to see 10 a day. We could get that in 2 hours. So the other thing that many of the other speakers, I think, mentioned is being adaptable. It's very important to be adaptable to the schools. The schools are on a huge time crunch, as we all know, with the core curriculum, and teachers are really feeling it. And so making sure that you are adaptable to the schools. Some schools, we are only allowed to be in groups for 45 minutes. That's the only time allowed that they can allow. So if we can extend our session, okay, you can only allow us 45 minutes, but maybe we could go for 20 weeks instead of 10 weeks. And this has worked for many of the schools, extend sessions out a little bit longer. Maybe they can only give you a lunch period. I think it was stated earlier. So we grab those opportunities to prove that these programs work. When we can only have 30 minutes, we take the 30 minutes and we use that to the best of our abilities to show how these programs are working. And then after we're more established, ask it and have a little bit more time, or if there's any way we can put in a little extra meeting time with. The other major thing, I think, is to build rapport with students. Word of mouth travels quickly, and so if kids are enjoying groups, they're going to tell other people. They're going to tell their friends how much they enjoy. They're going to tell their parents how much they enjoy groups. They are more pleasant in the classrooms because they are having a good time at school. We've seen attendance rates go up in students who are attending. We've seen a reduction in trauma and the ability to work things out. We had a group of students who was having a huge problem with an internet and on Facebook, spreading rumors. And we were able to bring it back to group, talk it out, and actually this group decided they wanted to do a presentation on internet safety, on how to have relationships and talk things out rather than spreading rumors via Facebook. So things like that you can get the kids to spread the word themselves. It really depends on the fact that these groups are about them. They are their group. I'm just there to bounce ideas off of, and the group is really their group. This is for them. The kids really buy into that. We started, like I said, as a very small program, and now we even have principals asking to put their kids in groups. Teachers want their children in groups. So it becomes very diverse, and that helps it spread across the school, and the whole mentality of the students changes when you have them all talk about how they support each other, and the schools see this. So we have to document that, and we have done that a couple with most of it qualitative. We're surveying the kids often to make sure that we're meeting what they think is important. We're also doing quantitative data where we are gathering attendance records and things like that from the schools that will allow that information. Do a survey that I have from the Girls Circle curriculum that gathers a lot of information that's a little bit more qualitative. Is there drug use, how drug use before and after group, just some of the questions that schools are really looking to see if the program is valuable, and so to have that data is really important when trying to get to new schools. So another thing that was brought up was, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, was the staff changes at the school, and I guess the biggest thing for us with the staff changes is making sure that you're really rooted in the school. Once you've established a good contacts who are in school. So anytime you can meet more people who your program is affecting and have them to your program and say how effective it is, that will help you to continue in the schools. Some of my schools will make sure I'm Board of Ed approved once I start doing the programs, so that when there is change in administration, it's easy for me to say, I've been in these schools, I'm Board of Ed approved. That way, a little bit more concreteness to the fact that I'm able to provide these programs for the school. One of our schools just added us to the Nationally Awarded Education of the Year for a collaboration with their school, and so that's something that I'll use to try to sell the program to schools as well. So there's always barriers, there's always things that come up, and a lot of it is really just maintaining good connections with people in the community. And I think you mentioned earlier, parents. If parents see the value and they see their kids performing better in school, and their students, they're connected to the counseling center now because the program we're providing, that they can see your program as well. So I guess the biggest things is be adaptable and gain community.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That's just a fascinating, a brief but fascinating look at how you've been able to maintain your presence in so many schools in those areas. We really appreciate the information provided and be part of the question and answer session after our last speaker, Leanne Dorman, who Edie will now introduce.
Good morning, everyone. Leanne is the coordinator at the Warren County Sexual Assault Support Services, which is a program of the Planned Parenthood of Mohawk Hudson. Leanne's a coordinator in Warren County for 11 years, and prior to that, Leanne worked as a paralegal. And she does very well up north with her primary prevention curriculum.
Good morning, everyone. This is Leanne Dorman. First, thank you to Edie and Mary Chris for inviting me to share a little bit of what I do up in the Adirondacks. I want to thank all of the other speakers. I've been taking notes all morning and got a few great ideas that I'm going to implement up here. So thank you so much for sharing everything. I wanted to just focus on a couple of things. How I got in with my health teacher. I work with all health students grades 7 to 12, and I've targeted one particular high school in our county that has shown statistically to have higher pregnancy rates. There was, talk in the community about violence in school, relationship violence in general, and also there's been concerns about electronic violence, Facebook bullying, that type of thing that we've been discussing. So I kind of said this is an important school that could really use this. In working in this school at the elementary level for a number of years with our 3 Kinds of Touch program, seeing 5 different grade schools, the schools kind of got to know me. They knew. And I had been doing one-shot gateway programs at the high school level for a number of years. And so in knowing what the Rape Crisis Agency did, and when, the state decided to do multi-session program, primary prevention education, it took a while for everyone to buy into that. But after educators and administrators understood, appreciate the importance of multi-session programming, the biggest sell for me in getting in was really talking to my health teacher and saying, what are you required to teach? And she said, well, let me look. And how did safety meet their requirements? And I'm just going to name 7 or 8 different New York State health standards all of the standards that I listed that she has to cover in her health class anyway. So getting in for 9 or 10 sessions was pretty easy. And she had known me from in there one or two sessions previously. So there was a trusted relationship that had been established. I absolutely agree with the previous speakers today. Establishing a relationship in your community, having a reputation as being an appropriate speaker in the classroom setting is so important. So that really helped. And then just meeting what her requirements were. And so we do sessions. We always book 1 or 2 extra for all of the health just to make sure that if I have, as I'm a one-woman show up in Warren County, if I have an emergency, a client emergency or an ER call, and I have to cancel the last minute, we always make sure that we have extra time. So I'm doing the safe aids. That started at high school level, and then we understood that the behaviors were really starting at middle school. So we said, how do we get into middle school? Started with doing a presentation with my multidisciplinary team for all middle school educators and administrators. And then I got a chance to talk about the importance of primary prevention education. And with the backing of my high school health educator, got into middle school. And now we see 7th grade health students for 3 or 4 sessions a week, 8th grade health students for 5 or 6 sessions, state days all the way. And then in high school, every kid gets it for the full 10. What I have loved about doing safe aids is expanding it beyond the curriculum. It's that the most exciting for me, it keeps it fresh for me, and it keeps it fresh for the students and the health educator. So a number of ways that we've done this. One, I have bracelets that my program has used that have wonderful messages. Yes, no means no, consent is active, respect, not sure, ask. I use those bracelets during the sexual violence session of safe aids, and it gives students credit if they're wearing them next week, if they're wearing them the following week. I say to the kids, if you see me in the halls, throw your wrist up. I want to see you wearing the bracelet. And I now have kids who are coming to me from previous years saying, I still have your bracelet, Mrs. Dorman. So I think that's been really, really positive. The health is giving them extra credit. So she really bought into the whole program. Another way that we've expanded this is the campus-wide pledge, where I just take deli paper, huge roll of deli paper, and we, as a work group, we decide as a class, what do we want the message to our campus to be? They decide, they create it, it's posted in the community hallway where every student can see it, and start dangling from it, and they can all sign on. And even teachers will sign this community pledge that says, we, stand up against being violent. So that's a way to take it outside of the classroom onto high school campus. Another way that we've expanded the program is through letters to the editor, which we're still working on getting sent into our local newspaper with the hopes of doing an article on teen dating violence and the work that's being done at Glens Falls High School. So that we take some time teaching the kids what it is to write a letter to the editor, and then they're given that as a homework assignment. So I have a pile of letters to the editors from all kinds of students talking about safe dates and the importance of stopping dating violence in middle and high school level. Another way that I have expanded the program is through social networking. I tell all of the kids, you guys now have learned. You've just spent 8 or 9 weeks together, and you 20 students know all there is to know about healthy relationships, dating violence, sexual violence, how to help friends, where to go, community resources. Now, how are we going to take it outside of this classroom? So one of the assignments that they were given in the beginning, and it was an option, it was not a requirement, but an option for them, was post on their social networking site, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, a message about dating violence. They could do a link with dating abuse video. They could take a one-sentence statement that said dating abuse is wrong and post our hotline number. They got to decide how to do that. The only requirement was that they emailed it to me and the health teacher so that we could see that they were doing it. And now, over the years, it's become a required assignment for health class. This year, I'm so happy to say we just finished. We did Vine videos and Instagram videos. I talked to the kids. I said, what do you think? Can we do this? And they said, yeah, we can do that. The teacher thought it was a great idea. So we spent one class time. They got to break into groups 2 or 3. They had 40 minutes to come up with a message and make their videotape and email it to me. One fun thing for the students, they got their smartphones out during class and to be involved. So keeping them really involved has kept the program fresh and has kept it fresh for me, for the educator, and for the students. So I'm going to be sharing those videos. The students are required to share them on their social network site, and I'll be sharing those videos with my program monitors. They can see how that we've continuing to expand safety outside of the classroom into the community. The posters that the kids make, which is one of the last sections of safety, they're displayed in a number of different hallways throughout the campus for a number of weeks, and then I take all the posters down, and I do my best to bring them somewhere into the county, whether it's at the youth center or at our homeless shelter, somewhere that other people will see the posters that these created about healthy relationships, dating violence, hot buttons, anger management, education, and how to help a friend, sexual violence. So we're, with the goal of spreading the message outside of the 4 walls of the classroom into the campus of Glens Falls school system, and then beyond the campus to the community of Warren County. I really enjoy doing it. The biggest struggle for me, reaching parents, of course. This year, in an effort to get more parents involved, or at least to know that the parents are looking at the newsletter, is that the teacher is saying, here's a newsletter, you must bring it back next week to the parent signing it. At least we know that the parent has seen it, and then we spend a few minutes in class saying, talk to me about what that conversation was like between you and your parents, or you and your guardian. Was it that feel like to talk about dating or dating violence? As a 16-year-old boy or girl, did you think it was positive or negative experience? Will that conversation continue at home? So we're always looking at different ways to reach parents. I think it's the biggest struggle for most programs. The parents who do come are not usually the parents who most need to hear the messages. Their parents who are actively involved in their students' lives. So reaching the parents who most need to hear these messages is always a struggle. And I've enjoyed hearing from the other speakers on how they are continuing to reach out to parents and expand their program. Thanks so much again, Edie and Mary Chris. I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you so much, Leanne, for sharing so much in such a short time period. And thanks to Beth Ann, Chris, Rachel, and Leanne for so briefly but so eloquently sharing what they're doing in the schools. I'd like to open up now for a 10-minute question and answer session for these 4 speakers. So I think I'll just open it up. If anyone has any questions that they would like for this group or for one individual in the group, could you unmute your phone and ask your question, identifying yourself and where you're from. I know we have some noise on the line, but I don't think that's a question. Does anyone have any questions or perhaps comments about something that they're doing that they would like to share with the group?
This is Dan Davis from the Napa County Coalition.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Good. Feel free to ask your question or make your comment.
Well, I wanted to say, I really enjoyed. I'm here with Caitlin Pickford, and we worked together on the education program, and we enjoyed what the speakers were saying, especially the last one, because we've been implementing safety. And I just wanted to share a quick success that we've had. We contractually had to do at least 2 safety a year, and we approached our outreach differently this year. And right now we are in the middle of 50 different sessions, and we're doing the six session sequence. So we've so far booked, and we're in the middle of providing 20 different session sequences to different schools throughout Nassau County just in this half of the year. So that's like a 10-fold increase from last year, and we're really excited. And one of the things was, I think, just the aggressive outreach really paid off. We didn't know about the standards for health classes, but maybe that's something that's making it more attractive to them, which is good. But we're on pace to do even more than this because we're booking for spring. So it's going to be like 25 or 30 sessions things that we've done this year. So we're almost to the point where we're looking at, do we need to get a volunteer to come in and train them to do more of this work? Because I don't think our staff can handle it.
Congratulations. I would call that a major success story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to ask or share? Any successful strategies you've had that may not have been mentioned or that may have been mentioned that you want to comment on?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to mention, just because it makes no sense just to say we're doing all of these without really quickly saying, hi, I don't know what other people do for outreach. We sent letters out in the summer, and then we followed letters up at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall with phone calls, and then we did follow-up calls to those follow-up calls about a month later. We got a really solid response to that. And then, we've basically gone to events where there are teachers, events like conferences and done tabling. So that's kind of where we got everything from. And I don't know what other folks are doing for outreach, but we found that to work this year. So just sharing that.
Hey, to our first 2 speakers, Marion and Beth, do you have any comments on what you heard from our programs?
This is Marion. I really appreciate Leanne sharing how the strategy she used to take Safe Date out of the classroom and make it school-wide. Those are great strategies. I'm going to share that with our staff as well, because that's really what you really want to get accomplished is getting kids involved and sharing it with their colleagues in the building, doing those school-wide projects that really make it a school-wide initiative, and I appreciate those suggestions.
Thank you for that comment. I also appreciated Leanne sharing that because EDC, which is one of our major funders, is particularly interested in environmental systems and policy changes where programs go beyond individual education into making changes in the climate of the school and in school policies, in making sure that the community is aware of these issues, parents. So that model that Leanne shared, in which a number of you are doing, is really the direction direction that CDC is going, where individual prevention education is combined with, training faculty, like getting school buy-in, and then moving it out to the community. So, Beth, I want to give you an opportunity if you wanted to comment on anything you heard from our last four speakers.
Yes, thank you. First of all, congratulations. What great work you guys are all doing. And just a comment on how much student interaction I heard going on with now it's sort of institutionalized that this is part of the health education assignments that go on each semester. Also, I just wanted to say thank you for talking about the health education standards, because even though health is only mandated at the secondary level for a half credit at middle and half at high school, I'm just really happy to hear that people were able to effectively link to those skills of self-management, relationship management, because, as Marion said, when we're looking at sort of infiltrating the rest of the school day, those skills are not just health skills, they're sort of life skills, and they are linked to the CDC health areas. So I just wanted to say thank you, because sometimes when I do a presentation, it just sounds like talking about arcane education language again, but it's really kind of exciting to hear it meet where the rubber meets the road, and it actually is effective in practice. So thank you, and congratulations.